Hello, good morning, good evening, everyone. Before we go further, I want to review the functionality of our Zoom meeting. Your active participation is important throughout the session. Right now, we have everyone on mute to avoid background noises that may distract you from listening to the webinar. Throughout the presentation, someone on staff will be managing the chat and our Zoom functionality. You can enter your questions and comments in the question box throughout the presentation. If you'd rather ask in person, you can also use icon on the control panel to raise hand to indicate that you have question or comment. Once you raise your hand, you may unmute your microphone so that you can ask your question. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Pak Rektor.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih, Prof, sudah berkenan hadir membersamai kami.
Apa kabar? Kapan pulang? Hah?
1 tahun yang lalu, Prof.
Oh iya, tapi tidak pernah ketemu, tidak pernah melapor, Bang.
Iya, Prof. Baik, Prof. Nanti saya melapor, Prof. Makasih, Prof.
Suaminya masih di sana, sudah pulang juga?
Sudah pulang, Prof. Satu keluarga pulang.
Alhamdulillah, ya. Sehat ya?
Sehat, Prof. Kami juga selalu berdoa, semoga Prof selalu sehat.
Amin, 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 amin.
Sekeluarga. Makasih, Prof.
Amin. Ada anunya kah?
Ya, Prof.
FB-nya tolong dikirim ke aku.
Oh, izin, Prof. Baik, Prof.
Halo, panitia.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We hope you are all doing well. We are delighted to welcome you in Faculty of Public Health, Mula Warman University, Indonesia, virtually for the international webinar series with our initial topic is lifestyle and mental health. Now, please welcome our special guest for today. Welcome to the Honorable Professor Dr. Mas Jaya, MSc, as a rector from Mula Warman University. Welcome to the Honorable Dr. Iwan Muhammad Ramdan, MKes, as the Dean of Public Health Faculty, Mula Warman University. Welcome to the Honorable Keynote Speakers, Dr. Natalie Misels, and also Dr. Ratih Wirapuspita Wisnuwardani. And last but not least, also to the honorable audiences. Welcome. For this first evening agenda, we will sing our national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up. Thank you very much, and please have a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will invite to the stage Dean of Public Health Faculty, Mula Warman University. To the Honorable Dr. Iwan Muhammad Ramdan, MCAS, this virtual stage is now yours.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much to each and every one of you for attending this event. My name is Iwan Muhammad Ramdan. It is such a honor for me to speak on behalf of the Faculty of Public Health Mula Warman University Indonesia. Let me begin by giving you a warm welcome to the international webinar series on lifestyle and mental health. This event was held in the framework of 16th anniversary of the Faculty of Public Health Mula Warman University and the 59th anniversary of the Mula Warman University. Alhamdulillah, there are a lot of participants in this webinar. I see there are about 760 participants who attended this webinar. I see there are participants from Dutch, from Thailand, from Malaysia, Philippines, and of course from the Indonesian. I mean in and outside of Kalimantan. Thank you very much for your presence. Before we get started, I'd like to express my appreciation to the rector of Mula Warman University, Professor Dr. Haji Masjaya, Master of Science, who attended this event. We also express our gratitude and high appreciation to the Honorable Dr. Natalie from Ghent University, Belgium, Dr. Ratih Wirapuspita Wisnuwardani, PhD, from Mula Warman University, Moderator Rija Hayati Iproh, MPH, all the organizers who have managed to make this event a success, and all participants. Today, in international webinar, we will study the correlation between lifestyle and mental health. We have two speakers who are very competent in this field. We hope that all participants can benefit greatly from this webinar material, especially at this time we are still not free from the COVID-19 pandemic, which is very likely to affect our mental state as well. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. I need to hand over to Miss Talita, our today MC, to introduce our guest speaker to all of you. I'd like to say more on behalf of Faculty Public Health Mula Warman University, welcome. It is great to see you many of you here. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Iwan, for the speech. Now we're gonna move, and with honor, we would like to invite the Rector of Mula Warman University to deliver a few sentences. To the Honorable Professor Dr. Masjaya, MSE, this stage is yours.
Okay, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Natalie, Dr. Iwan, Dean Fakulti MKM, dan partisipan secara khusus para narasumber. Thanks to Dr. Natalie from Ghent University for you privilege to be the guest speaker today. Actually, the webinar is held in celebrate 16 this Natalis of Faculty of Public Health, and also 59 this Natalis of Mula Warman University. Peserta yang berbahagia, saya kira apa yang dilakukan atau kita saksikan pada sore hari ini, rangkaian dari kegiatan yang insya Allah akan digagas oleh Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat, Dr. Iwan dan tim. Mudah-mudahan perayaan atau rangkaian Disnatalis ke-16 FKM dan Unmul yang ke-59 akan memberi makna kepada kita semua. Harapan saya tentu tidak lain adalah memberi dan mensiasati atau mendengarkan secara khusus bagaimana pemaparan para narasumber. Ada tadi dokter kita, Dr. Rati. Terima kasih Dr. Rati yang pernah menjamu kami, mengajak kami selama di Belgia beberapa hari. Dan tentu yang lain semuanya.
Pleasure, Pak Rektor.
Secara khusus, Dr. Natalie, we hope you will be willing to join us again to future seminar. Thank you. Bapak Ibu sekalian, saya kira seminar atau webinar hari ini saya buka secara resmi sebagai rangkaian, mudah-mudahan bisa memberi warna dalam pertemuan ini. Dengan mengucapkan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, webinar kita dengan skop internasional dibuka secara resmi. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for Professor Dr. Masjaya MSI for the speech. Now, before we truly start this agenda, let's begin with a prayer to be led by Muhammad Imam Utama. To Muhammad Imam Utama, stage is yours.
Thank you. Baik, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, let us bow our head for a moment. Pray to God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala so that our international conference can be precious to all of us. I will lead this prayer based on the teaching of Islam, and those who are not Muslim, you are blessed to pray according to each of your beliefs. Ila hadarat Nabi Mustafa Rasulullah SAW. Al-Fatihah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi majidah, ya rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karimi wa azimi sultanik. Allahumma inna nas'aluka salamatan fid dinina wa afiyatan fil jasadina wa ziyadatan fil ilmina wa barakatan fil rizqina wa taubatan qablal maut wa rahmatan indal maut wa maghfiratan ba'dal maut. Allahumma hawwin alaina fi sakaratil maut wa najada minan nar wal afwa indal hisab. Allahumma ighfir lana wa liwalidina wa lil muslimina wal muslimat wal mu'minina wal mu'minat al ahya'i minhum wal amwat innaka sami'un qaribun mujibun da'wat ya qadiyal hajat. Allahumma inni as'aluka rizqan thayyiban wa ilman nafi'a wa amalan mutaqabbala. Allahumma iftah lana hikmataka wa anshur alaina rahmataka min hazaini rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma akhrijni min zulumatil wahmi wa akrimni binuril fahmi waftah li abwabal ilmi wa zayyini bil ahlaki hasanati wal ilmi birahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Raditu billahi rabba wa bil islami dina wa muhammadin nabiyya wa rasulah. Rabbi zidna ilma warzuqna fahma. Rabbi zidna ilma warzuqna fahma. Rabbi zidna ilma warzuqna fahma. Wassallallahu ala sayyidina maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa salim. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamun ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you very much. May God bless us all. And now just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat box in your Zoom control panel. And I will now read curriculum vitae of Mrs. Riza Hayati Ifro as our moderator for today's webinar. Okay, now I will read a professional summary from Mrs. Riza Hayati Ifro. She is a Master of Public Health Science who has a strong interest in health promotion and behavioral science, health communication, health literacy, media of health education, community empowerment, adolescent health, and health social determinants. She becomes a part of the Indonesian Society for Health Promoters and Educators at the national and regional levels, established various portfolios, media of health education, and research papers for learning and policy intervention purposes with 3+ years of experience working as a full-time lecturer and researcher in Faculty of Public Health Universitas Mula Warman, East Kalimantan, Indonesia. She is a highly motivated learner, communicative, and capable of working in a high-pressure environment. Please welcome Mrs. Riza Hayati Ifro.
Okay,
Now,
thank you, Talita.
yes, Mrs. Without further ado, we will turn the time over to moderator, to Mrs. Riza Hayati Ifro. The floor is yours now.
Okay, thanks for Miss Talita. That's pleasure to me be a moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Riza, and I would like to lead this section as a moderator. And as prologue for our meeting today, there are the consequences of pandemic COVID-19, changing some of our behavior like changing eating habits and then lack of physical activity, and then so many burdens, so many additional assignments that can make us stressed today. Based on that, the Faculty of Public Health proudly present the international webinar series, and please give applause for Public Health Faculty of Mula Warman University. Okay, now I would like to say thanks to two speakers who are willing to share the material and knowledge. And before I invite the first speaker, let me introduce to you Dr. Natalie Michel before I call. Dr. Natalie Michel is a senior researcher at Department of Public Health and Department of Developmental Psychology at Jan University. With her background in biomedical medicine, she is interested in the link between psychosocial, especially in stress and behavior, and psychological, especially in obesity and metabolism factor. She has implemented her PhD in 2009 to 2030 on the longitudinal stress obesity, relation in children and underlying nutritional and psychological pathways. During her postdoc, she continued exploring the stress-obesity relation by studying the role of chronic inflammation, gut microbiota, metabolomics. Since 2 years, she started to examine the effect of nature on the stress and eating behavior. And newest article I saw in the research guide, doctor, the newest research about eating disorder and risk of developing cancer, a systematic review published by Springerling. Hello, Dr. Natalie. How are you doing?
Thank you.
Okay, nice to see you, doctor. How's the pandemic situation there?
Okay. So yeah, we are also still in the pandemic, but it's really improving here at this moment.
Okay, thanks for you to enter and invited in this seminar. Thank you. And please to doctor, please deliver your presentation related to lifestyle and mental health. And as information for you, doc, the time given by committee is 30 minutes and plus 10 minutes of question and answer. Are you ready for starting?
I am.
Okay, thanks. Time's yours.
Hello, thank you for this nice introduction. I will indeed talk about the relation of lifestyle and mental health in the two directions. And so how lifestyle can influence mental health, but also how mental health can influence the lifestyle. Like you see at the bottom, a happy life is a combination of a healthy body, and so no physical complaints, but also a healthy mind. And so we really want to focus on this mental health, especially even in these pandemic situations with COVID, a lot of people suffer from mental health issues. So let's give you an overview of the topics that I will discuss with you. Too much, it will be all very short. So first, starting with some context. What is health? How is mental health or stress related to it? And then what can be the role of lifestyle? Second, we will go more in depth. What are the associations and mechanisms? So I will tell you a little bit about the effects of stress on fat storage, the relation with diet, the relation with activity, the relation with sleep, then a little bit more biological with the gut bacteria, and finally also looking at the green or blue nature. And last, some slides about the implications and what does this mean now. So the context that I start from is a socio-psychophysiological perspective. So it means that health is more than just the absence of disease. It's a good balance in the physical, mental, and social health. Health is in fact also a part of the well-being of a person. And if we then look specific to mental health, which is an aspect of this health, we look at well-being and we often think about stress. It's the way how we cope with stress, normal stressors, everyday life stress happens, and some days, of course, more than other ones, but how we cope with them. And so we see that stress is, in fact, a big part of what we talk about mental health. Of course, if we think about the psychological factors, we also have to think about the holistic medicine. So the fact that we are not only looking at the person itself, even if we already think about his body, spirit, and mind, we are looking at the person in an environment. And so we have the family environment, we have then a community and culture. And lifestyle is, of course, part of this person, but also part of his environment. And so people can motivate him to have a certain lifestyle. Rules can do this. Physical aspects can really motivate the person. And so lifestyle is also part of this environment. And together with the human biology, of course, this will influence our biological health. But we also have to think about the environment, and so the psychosocial environment will be important if we talk about lifestyle. It will also help us or be a burden towards a certain lifestyle. A very complex graph, but I will not go into too much detail. In fact, the main message is that lifestyle can intervene in three ways. You see the three red numbers and the 1, 2, and 3. So it can intervene already at the start if we have a stressor. So if we have a healthy lifestyle, we will be more able to handle these stressors even before they reach or they get under the skin and before we have any effects. At a second perspective, this lifestyle can really intervene in how our body reacts to the stressors, so the more biological stuff. And then in the third, final stage, the lifestyle can intervene with the aging of the body. And so once there are certain stress effects already in the body, we can still help with lifestyle to improve the physical health of the body. And so, in fact, and that's something to think about yourself. What do you do when you are stressed? So the first reaction I often get from people, if I'm stressed, I will start worrying. I will start thinking over and over again. But some people will start eating some unhealthy food. And so for myself, I really like chocolate, the Belgian chocolate, but other ones will maybe find some motivation to sport, and that can be a good way of coping with stress and to really run or have other things to think about. And another lifestyle factor that might be influenced is, for example, sleep. We see a lot of people that if they are stressed, really have problems to have a good sleep quality and that are still thinking about the problems and that cannot sleep very well. And so everyone will react a little bit different. And so the lifestyle factors that will be influenced can be different between individuals. But of course, I will tell you about all different possibilities. It cannot maybe it's not true for all of the persons, but if we look at the whole population, what we do in public health, each of these lifestyle factors will be influenced. But in fact, it's not the stress that kills us, it's the reaction to it. And so if we have a good reaction, if we have a good coping skill, if we cope very well with the stress, then there will be less problems in the body, and we will see that's not getting under the skin. We are able to keep it outside of our mind. So it's a reaction, and that's lifestyle, the reaction, how we cope with stress. And to have a more visual perspective of what the role of stress coping is, and you can think about a bucket, and you have here a bucket and water is coming in, and in fact the water is for us the stress. Every day we have small stressors and they fill the bucket. Of course, if we don't empty the button at the bottom will flow over. So the coping is that we are able to leave a little bit of the stress outside of the bucket, and then the bucket will never flow over. So people that are really vulnerable to stress have really difficulties with the coping. And as an example, over a long time, they will have an overflowing bucket. And then we have the real problems like, for example, depression. Of course, I'm talking about stress. What is stress? And then we always think about first the stressors. And so things that are outside us. We think about the family that we are in. If people get sick, we can think about the job. Maybe we have too much work, or we have no security in work. We can think even about simple things like traffic. Some people are stressed if they're stuck in a traffic jam. So all different stressors that come in our mind. But in fact, it's only a small percentage of what we feel is what happens. And you see here, if you think about ice on the water, it's only 10% of the ice that we see. That is in fact what is really happening. But what we feel is mainly influenced by this 90% that's under the water. That's how you react to it. So your thoughts and your attitude will highly influence the way how you will have an effect of stressors. And so it's really the target point if you think about interventions. And of course, we cannot really remove all stressors. What we can target is the way we cope with the stressor. And of course, some people will say a little bit of stress is good, and that's true. But the balance is really difficult. And you see on the graph that a little bit of stress is still in the green. And some people need a little bit of stress to have a good performance and to get motivated and not to get bored. But at a certain moment, we are at a peak performance. And if then there's still more and more stress, we will go to a sick level and we will be fatigued, we will have panic, we will have, in fact, a burnout or even depression. So how we keep this balance is by balancing the energy that is required, and so the energy that is asked for all these stressors, the burden, balancing it with the energy that we have. Some activities can give us energy. And so we will increase our capacity to handle stress if we create more of these activities that give energy. And one of these is, for example, social contacts. And some people really get energy from social contacts. And that's also the problem that we have now in COVID. And we have isolation, quarantine. So we don't see a lot of people. And that's something that will even, take care for this balance that's going more to the burden, because we have not this energy from the good things. And of course, social contact is only one example of things that give us energy to charge our battery. And then still we are thinking about the difference acute versus chronic stress. An acute stressor can be good. And when we think really about prehistoric times, and we have a dangerous animal that we had to run from, so this acute stress is good. And we have these reflexes. If we are in danger, we can really react very fast. And that's a good way of stress. Like, for example, what you also see with the animals. But in fact, we and also animals that are very close to us, the chimpanzees and the apes, they often experience very chronic stress. Why? Because we have some time left. And so we don't need all the time to sometimes look for food. And we can also have some social contacts. And in fact, by having these social contacts and by having some time free, we can create some chronic stress. We can have some hierarchy. What we see, especially in these apes, that they really give stress to each other because one wants to be better than the other one. But even in work, and we have a lot of pressure to have good performance in jobs. We want to go faster and faster, more and more. That's the bad thing, because in fact, our biology is foreseen for stress. If we have stress, the cortisol hormone, the stress hormone, will increase, but after the stressor, it will immediately decrease. That's the good thing, the green thing. The red graph is in fact the bad one, that the cortisol increases, but it's not going down anymore. It stays high because we have this chronic stress. And that's the way that we will have health effects, that we can create some disease vulnerability. So this was first to give you some context about health, mental health, and how lifestyle can interact with it. Then we go to the key aspects, with which lifestyle factors, which biology can explain these associations. And I mentioned we are looking at different biology and lifestyle factors. We are thinking about diet, about physical activity, sleep, and even our environment, the nature that we can see. These can all be influenced by stress. And so they are really interacting also with each other. And so if I do a lot of physical activity, probably my appetite will be better regulated, and so on. If I do a lot of physical activity, also my sleep will maybe be better. And so we see if you have an effect on the one, you will also have an effect on the other lifestyle factors. Then we go to a little bit more scientific. I looked up in PubMed, in fact, in the databases about literature, how much literature there is. I looked it up for the relation of stress with diet, stress with physical activity, stress with sleep, and stress with green nature. And you see that I started from 1995 and looked up until previous year. And you see that the amount of literature, the amount of articles, scientific articles, is really increasing. And what we see that it's mainly for diet. And so we have here around 3,000 articles per year. While for physical activity, it's a little bit less, 1,800. While for sleep, there's still a little bit more, and so between the diet and the physical activity. And for green nature, we don't see that much. And so that's the newest perspective in the stress relations. So we know the most about the diet and the least about the green nature. So I mentioned already short and long term. If we have an unhealthy behavior on the short term, it can be good to decrease some of the psychophysiology, some of the stress hormones, but the difficulty is in the long term. And the long term, an unhealthy behavior will be really negative for our physical health. And sometimes you can say, if I have some chocolate, I'm really happy a few seconds later on. That can be true. And so it can increase your mental health at that moment, a very short term. But if you do this over and over again, we will not increase mental health. We will decrease mental and physical health. And so if I talk about effects, I mainly look at the long-term effects. The same for the healthy behavior. And so if you think about a lot of physical activity, good sleep, healthy eating, then we will also have effects not only on how we feel, but also how our body copes with the stressor, the psychophysiology. And the first one, the more broad one, is about adiposity. And so overweight, obesity is an endpoint. And you see from top to bottom that I have different pathways that link stress with obesity. At the right one, we have the behavior. And we know that stress might decrease sometimes physical activity because we have no time, or we have we have no feeling to do physical activity. We don't like it at that moment. We have problems with sleeping, and a lot of the people will go to comfort food, and they will go to sort of emotional eating and eating in response to the stress. That's just behavior. But on the left side, we can also see the physiology. And so this stress hormone, cortisol, is explaining this physiology. We have a direct effect on the fat storage. And so even without changing your diet or changing your activity or sleep, we can have effects of stress on the body, because the fat storage will be different. We will mainly store the fat at the belly, and the more the central fat, the one that is increasing our cardiovascular risk and cardiovascular diseases. And so you see that the cortisol hormone is really interacting with hormones, with enzymes, and so the lipoprotein lipase, for example, and also the storage of the fat. On the other hand, the cortisol also has direct effects on the physiology of appetite and reward. And so reward is a center. We have a center in the brain that is really regulating the reward. And it's about how really you like to have reward after something good or something bad. And so if we have stress, for example, I give this presentation and everything went fine, but still I was very stressed during the presentation. Maybe afterwards I want some reward, and my reward might be some chocolates, for example. And so we know that the cortisol is really reacting also with this reward system. And the second system is the appetite center. So also in the brain, we have this arcuate nucleus, and so a center that is regulating the appetite, and cortisol is reacting it. And we see also effects on the hormones, the gastrointestinal hormones in our body. And so the cortisol is influencing, for example, the leptin production from the fat cells. It's influencing the insulin production from the pancreas. It's influencing the ghrelin production. The ghrelin is the hunger hormone, and so the hormone that really gives us the hunger feeling. It's produced in the stomach, so also there cortisol can intervene. And then we have the whole intestine with certain hormones, like, for example, peptide YY, cholecystokinin, and glucagon-like peptide. And maybe, and that we will see in the later slides, also on the gut bacteria. So several pathways that finally go to increased fat deposition, finally overweight and obesity. And so this was already a little bit of summary of different lifestyle factors, what you see here, but not only lifestyle, also physiology. But be sure that it's also in the other direction. And so obesity or overweight can also influence the stress that we perceive. Psychological, and so the underneath, the one at the bottom, people might feel less confident. They might have a low self-esteem. There might be some stigma about their body, especially in children, we see some bullying even. So people might, in this perspective, experience more stress. But also physiologically, we see that a high fat percentage in the body might increase your vulnerability to stress. And we have a higher rate of inflammation. The leptin and the hormone produced from the fat increases, and also the cortisol might be dysregulated. And so we will not have a good reaction of stress hormones during these stress reactions. So again, we see psychological factors and the more biological factors. The two directions, from stress to adiposity, but also here from adiposity to stress. Okay, that was adiposity. Then we go to diet, and the one that I have been working on most of the time. And we think about stress and diet, and we think about comfort food. And so one funny thing is, and desserts, if you spell it backwards, it will be stressed. And so these two are, for some people, highly linked. And so I say for some people because we see not everyone is reacting in the same way also. The first important thing is intensity. And so the more intense the stressor is, the less you will eat. And so that's back to prehistoric times. Acute stress, we have to react, we have to fight, we have to flight. And the autonomic system, the sympathetic system, is activated. So we will not think about eating. But if we have this less intense chronic stress, then we will maybe go for some comfort food. I say maybe because it influences it's determined by the food availability and about the person. And first, think about the food availability. It depends on your environment. Of course, a lot of the environments in Western worlds, but also in other continents, we see a lot of energy-dense foods, easily accessible. So as a result, we will go to these high-fat, high-sugary foods to have some comfort, to have some reward after the stressor. It will also depend on the person. For example, some people are really emotional eaters, and so they will really go to the fat and sugar foods, while other people are restrained eaters. And with restrained eaters, I think about people that take care of their weight and don't want to eat too much because they are afraid there will be some more on the scale the next day. So if you're really restraining and so lowering your food, a stressor will have an effect on your cognitive control. And as a result, you will still think about eating healthy, but in the end, most of these people will eat more. And so even if it's not chocolate, and even if it's, for example, fruits, maybe they will eat more of these fruits. And as a consequence, they will still eat more calories. And of course, if you think about overweight, it's the calories that counts. That's about reactions. Of course, about the biology behind the reactions is again the cortisol. And so cortisol, you will hear it over and over again. It's reacting on these specific centers. So you will have more hunger, we will have more reward. And so I explain here specific where in the brain you can find it. And then we also have this the storage of fat. And so this is a little bit a summary from the previous slides. Important is that it can also be in the opposite way. And so how diet can influence the stress. And so can a healthy diet improve the way that we react to stress? And yes, it can. So when we think about biology behind it, we think about neurotransmitters. And so the messengers in the brain, we think about this cortisol, and we also think about inflammation that might really influence the way we react to stress. And so if we have a healthy diet, we will have less inflammation, we will have less cortisol, and we will have also more of the serotonin, the happy hormone. Then, and the question that I receive often is which foods, which nutrients can help us? Well, then we think about certain fatty acids. And so the omega-3 fatty acids that, for example, we find in fish, but also in some plant-based foods. We think about proteins like tryptophan. We think especially about a lot of vitamins and minerals that we get from plant-based foods. And again, the phytochemicals, for example, and for example, polyphenols can also influence our physiology towards stress. These are the good ones. The bad one is the saturated fatty acids. And so a lot of animal-based foods, but also processed foods that we buy can have a high level of saturated fatty acids. Of course, this is what we find in literature, but really keep a critical mind. And so be aware that research on diet has some limitations. And first of all, we are highly depending on questionnaires. If you have to fill in a questionnaire, maybe it's not really the truth. And so you don't know, for example, anymore what you have been eating, or you will adjust a little bit and social desirable answers. So it's really difficult to get information from the diet. Be aware that a lot of these studies have small sample sizes, that they are observational studies. And so we can only say something about causality, a cause and an effect, if we have an intervention. And even if we have an intervention, and then we think about randomized control studies, often they are not completely blinded. And so people are aware of what they eat, and they know the effects that we expect. And so that's the difficulty with diets. So there will be some bias. And then if we look at more summary-based literature like reviews, be aware that narrative reviews are more biased than systematic reviews. And that's something I want to show you on this slide. So this was a study that tested meta-analysis, and so really studies that reanalyze the data. Then we have the systematic reviews that have a really systematic approach that want to give you all literature that is existing on the topic. And then we have narrative reviews that are just selecting some of important facts. And we see that the narrative reviews often have this statements that are really strong. Yes, there is an effect of a certain diet on mental health. Well, for the meta-analysis, we see that there are often weak relations detected. And so we often say, yes, there might be an effect, but. And so we really have to look at meta-analysis to have a good idea. Then we also think about activity. And so the energy that is mobilized during stress is in fact a good thing. So in fact, we should move a lot to prevent stress. But if we have stress, people have less motivation, less time. Although some people will still use it as a coping mechanism, which is a good thing. But like I mentioned, if we have more physical activity, it will decrease the stress levels. We have this euphoric effect, so we are happy. We can also use it as a coping mechanism. Also physiologically, we see that the stress hormones are decreasing. We often do sports together with other people, so we have the social support. And then also the performance and time pressure really with athletes can be a disadvantage. And so if we are really thinking about extreme sport, then the stress will not be decreased. And so if you are really thinking about performance and time pressure, that's not a good way to decrease your stress level. The final lifestyle factor is sleep, and sleep is of course the opposite of stress, and so we are at rest. So again, stress can really influence the sleep. We think about hormones, we think about psychological things, and so if we are again thinking about the stress, we will not fall asleep or we don't have time. But on the other hand, the sleep might be really good to decrease the stress. We think about the hormones that are influenced, also about the neurotransmitters, and so we will have an effect on performance also. So at your work or at school, you will perform less, your mood will be lower. So all the bad things about a low sleep duration, but also a low sleep quality. And the quality is also important. And then we also have the bacteria. So like I mentioned before, some biological things. The bacteria in our gut, and they are with millions, they are really good. They help us, and for example, fermenting the fibers in immunity. And so if we have to fight, also they will help our immune system, but they can also have an psychological function. They can be a little bit our second brain because they help the production of neurotransmitters. So they are really in connection with the brain. And of course, we know that the bacteria are also reacting on our diet. And so we have at the right side and the fiber-rich diets with nuts, grains, fruits, vegetables, then they will be happy. So in fact, there is some relation between them, that the gut bacteria are in two directions related with stress. And so they can influence our stress levels, of course, not as the only ones, but as an additional factor. If we have balanced gut bacteria composition, it might help us in the fight against chronic stress. But again, we have to look at nutrition. Yeah. I will. So if you are interested in details about this one, you can have a look at this slide, but that will not be for today. If you want to target bacteria, so I talk about that bacteria, yes, we can do this. We can do this with fibers, we can do this with probiotic interventions, but be aware that what we find in animals is not always true in humans. And so again, a bit here. And the final one is nature. And so also nature is really important for several health factors. When we think about nature, it's not only what we see, but also different other factors. And the main message is that it can really reduce the stress, it can restore attention, so lead to a full recovery of the mind. So also this might be a good intervention for stress reduction. The moderators I will skip. I will go immediately to the implications, because you see I have too much just to say. You can, if you want the slides, I also can distribute them. The implications is that if we want to fight obesity, for example, childhood obesity, we don't not only look at nutrition and physical activity, but also we look at psychology. And so we have to target stress levels. And one way to do this is mindfulness. And so mindfulness is more and more examined in literature, and you will see that there is indeed some literature, but we need more research to be really confident on the best way to do it. And so we know that this way of targeting stress can be really helpful, but the specific the best way to do it is still, part of research. But for example, emotion regulation skills is something that we teach to children. If you want to avoid stress-induced eating, and so in fact, the main messages is that, of course, we can regulate emotion. You have to be aware of it. Of course, we have to avoid unhealthy food, but be aware that there are also other things that you can do if you're stressed. The good things, like, for example, visiting the nature, or even just having some fun with your friends and the social interaction, with some music, or with some funny videos. So you will see there are different ways how we can decrease in an easy way the stress levels. But I say easy, it seems easy, but changing your lifestyle and your way of living is more difficult, of course, than just saying it. So with this is the final slide, the take-home messages. So we have seen that the relation is bidirectional, so in two directions, that already in children. And so I have been talking also about children, that also in children, but also in adults and in elderly, this relation exists. That the way how we react with the stress is really important, and so that we can target this lifestyle reaction. That we have to target not only the person, but also its environment. That's the way of holistic medicine, and especially the idea of prevention. And so starting with interventions before we have the real disease, but especially from a scientific way, stay critical when you read some of the evidence. And with this, I really have to stop with talking and listen to your questions.
Okay, thanks for Dr. Natalie. That's really interesting material that we received today. And please give applause and give a reaction for Dr. Natalie. We'll take the reaction on your Zoom feature. Okay, there are many ways to reduce stress, but we are the one who have a decision to choose in the positive ways or negative ways, right? And especially in the chat, there are I calculate there are 13 questions that we received, and hopefully Dr. Natalie can answer, but I think because of time we cannot satisfy all of the people that answer that question. And maybe some of you, I will give the chance, maybe want to communicate directly with our speaker today. Please do a hand raise via Zoom feature, because I can call Dr. Blego and then Dr. Ike if you want to share and talking directly with Dr. Natalie, please. Dr. Ike or Dr. Blego? Okay, before while we waiting for the raised hand, I will read some of the question for Dr. Natalie. There are the first question from Blego, so let me read this. Okay, to Dr. Natalie, what are essential to form the lifestyle, especially which have contribute mental health quality? If could be compared, such as geographical factor, economic, political, and culture of actually and religious. What is your opinion about that? What the important thing and the essential form?
Yeah, so the essentials to increase mental health, if you think, for example, at policy. And so one of the things that you mentioned is socioeconomic status. Of course, this might be important. And so people that live in poverty will have more stress. But even then, I see people that live in poverty that really are able to cope with stressors, and they can still have a fun life. So I think it's really about a certain way of self-esteem, of enjoying life. And so really have to take care that people enjoy the life, even if life is not always that beautiful, that we enjoy the little moments of fun. Of course, this is really difficult to do it in policy. I'm also not working in politics.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully, Dr. Blegol will receive that answer. And please, we gotta move to the next question from Dela Triwahyuni, and maybe for all of adolescents feel it the same. Permission to Dr. Natalie. Sometimes I feel very nervous and scared, even to cry for no reason. So how do I manage my emotion, not to be stressed? Okay, what's your opinion, Natalie, about the situation, the fluctuation of emotion?
Yeah, of course. Often there is a taboo about not feeling well. And so, first of all, I have to say, all of us feel sometimes this feeling about being nervous, about crying, and this is human things. First of all, it can be normal. Of course, if this really going on for long term, I would really advise to look for some help. And first of all, you can look help with your friends. And so we know that social context is really important there. And if that is not working, there is still the way to go indeed to psychologist if you really think this is necessary. Also there, they can help you with some cognitive skills, so how you can react to certain reactions. But I have to say, sometimes the barrier is too high to go to psychologists, sometimes also economic wise. So I can say on the internet even, you can find some easy things to cope with stressors. And so some tips and tricks how to reframe your thinking, to look at the positive side. It seems easy if I say just think different, but this is something you can learn, certainly.
Okay, that is interesting when you're talking about how the social impact for your emotional. And there are one of question, that same question, it's from Nur Asrini, asking about what do you think about parents who don't care about their children's mental health? Because in Indonesia, there are some culture that parents have their own ways and didn't care with the children. What do you think, Natalie?
Yeah. Like I mentioned in the talk, and so for me, the mental health is the same importance as physical health. And so if I think about parents, I think it's important that they care not only for physical health, but also for mental health. Of course, I understand that there are some cultural differences, and we will not change, of course, a cultural behavior, but I would really recommend to have more attention to the mental health of children, because often the parents are the first contact they have. Of course, if children also can go to school, then they can also find a lot of help at school. And so, of course, with the friends, but I would really hope that also teachers are open for feedback. And so teachers can also be the first person to talk with if you do not feel well. So it's not only the parent. I think it's really all different people that are in interaction with children, and so also the schools.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Natalie. And I still invite for audience who will communicate with Dr. Natalie directly. Please raise your hand. And please, Natalie, you have maybe, okay, thanks, Dr. Ike. Time is yours to asking direct to Dr. Natalie.
Hello, thank you, Miss Riza. Hello, Natalie. Hi, I'm Ika Natalie. I point out that we must express or release our emotion that we feel. Otherwise, it will also affect our physical health, right? I saw the experience of someone of my friends, my colleague, with endometrial hyperplasia, and the doctor of obstetrical gynecology suspect that the cause was the stress. Even though my colleague she is so fine and able to control the situation is so well, according to these cases. So if we feel able to control our emotion even from stressful condition, because we feel very unnecessary to over expressing emotion. Do you think that people with good controlling emotion can handle or control the stress will still have a problem with their physical condition? Thank you, Dr. Natalie.
Yeah, so I think you mentioned a very interesting aspect, and so about mental and physical health, and so people that have some illness or some physical issue, it will influence their mental health. But be aware that the mental health can also be a part of the solution. And so a lot of the complaints that we have can be lowered, of course not solved, but can be lowered by good mental health. And some complaints are really, partly influenced by the mental health of people. But of course, then we have to target the mental health. And so the emotion regulation is something you mentioned here. The first part in emotion regulation is be aware of your emotions. And that's not an easy part. Accepting your emotions. So it is okay to be not okay. And so it is okay to feel bad. That's a good thing. But then we have, of course, not to stay in bed the whole day. So we can have some time for ourselves. I keep, for example, half an hour. And to feel bad, it's okay. But then go on with life. Do some fun things. Indeed, it can be social things, it can be some hobbies you like, and for example, some like cooking, some like working outside in the garden, some distraction will be very good, I think. It's simple. This is very simple things I tell you, and of course we can go more advanced if we think about cognitive reappraisal, and so really how we think about things, and that it's not always our fault. Often things happen. It's not our fault, but we have to go on and look how we can go on with this new situation. And for example, I have a certain disease, this is my new situation. I can still have a very nice life. It will be different, but okay, I can have some possibilities. That's still some fun things I can do. And so it's really having some switch in the head.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Natalie. It's really related with my condition, Ratna. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Ms.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ika. Hopefully you will always healthy. And please, I invite for one more person who want to communicate and answer questions direct to Natalie before we close the section, because of time until 5 p.m. Okay, I think Reni. Okay, thank you, Miss Reni. Okay, one more, Dr. Natalie. Okay, please, time's yours.
Okay, thank you, Miss Risa. Good evening, Dr. Natalie. I am so excited to explore more deeper about gut bacteria. You have described several studies regarding the function of probiotic, which have a positively effect on mental health. So in terms of dietary fiber as prebiotics, I would like to know if it also direct impact to our gut microbiota, which diet is more effective? Is it more effective to take a probiotic and prebiotic combined in our regular diet to have a balanced composition of gut microbiota? Or is it feasible to take only prebiotics, realizing that in some people consumption of probiotics may trigger allergic reaction and cause mild stomach upset or diarrhea or flatulence. So I would like to know which diet is more effective.
Yeah. So
Thank you,
indeed,
Natalie.
some people have difficulties, and so if we eat a lot of fiber, we will have some gas, and the gas will cause, for some people, flatulence. And so indeed, you have to think about your personal reactions. And so for some people, it will work, for others not. I hear you talking about the pre and the probiotics. And so the pre is the fibers, the pro is the living bacteria. A combination is indeed perfect. But then for general population, I would not recommend supplements. I think you can eat it from your general diet. And so if you think about prebiotics, we think about plant-based diet. A lot of the plant-based diets, fruit, vegetables, whole grain products, nuts, they have a lot of fibers. And these can already have the same effects as a commercial prebiotic. About the probiotic, there are some fermented foods. And for example, here in Western world, we eat a lot of yogurt. But I know every culture has its own fermented foods. So also there you find already the bacteria. So for a general population, I don't think we need supplements. It's more this diet that we can help with. For people that have a real disease, then I would really, think about the medical doctor, because every disease is different. There is not one solution, but indeed the two are important. Enough fibers and to have your existing bacteria, and then also the new bacteria that we bring in by the probiotics.
Okay, thank you, Natalie.
Okay, thank you for Mrs. Rennie to the question. Okay, Dr. Natalie, thanks for all of information that we received in this afternoon. But I think in there are so many positive ways to us to understand what the urgencies of the food to make our body healthier than before. And I think time is enough for the first section. I'm so sorry, cannot read all of questions that entering in the boxes in the Zoom. I'm so sorry. But after this, I think there is a certificate as an appreciation for Dr. Natalie. Hopefully you are willing to accept it. And I will invite Professor Masjaya as a rector. Hello, Prof. Are you still in there? Hello, Prof. Prof. Okay, I think we have to move to the Dean of Faculty of Public Health. So sorry, please, I pleasured for the Dean, Dr. Iwan Ramdan, to give a certificate to Dr. Natalie as appreciations of the section today. Okay, and the committee, please show the certificate. And okay, time's yours, Dr. Iwan.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Natalie. I have submit the certificate for you as a speaker. Thank you very much. Please accept this certificate from us.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Natalie. Hopefully you will go to Indonesia and come to our faculty. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to continue the section, and I will say hi to audience in the YouTube platform that always patient to continue the section about how and the benefit of plant-based food and mental health. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before I invite the second speaker, let me introduce to you Dr. Ratih Wira Puspita. She was born in Samarinda, 11 November 1982, in bachelor and master degree. She graduated from Universitas Airlangga and Universitas Gadjah Mada. And she already finished her doctoral program in 2020 at the Life Science and Medicine, Department of Public Health and Primary Care, Faculty of Medicine, Jen University. And as information for all the audience, she has succeeded to be awarded by Indonesian Endowment Fund for Education, or we can call it LPDP, Minister of Finance Indonesia. And she also be a reviewer in the high reputation journal, such as BMC Nutrition and the Nutrition Journal and European Journal of Nutrition. And right now, we know that Dr. Rati be a Vice Dean of Academic and Student Affairs from in Faculty of Public Health, Pulau Warman University. And for her experience in attending international conference, she already have experience to presentate her research about polyphenol intake at the risk factor of non-communicable disease in Kobe, Japan, Malta, Glasgow, Scotland, Brussels, Spain, and many others. And it's very inspiring us. Okay, to maximum the time, please to you, Dr. Rati. Can presentation the material, and for information, approximately 30 minutes plus 10 minutes for Q&A section.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bu Riza. And also Faculty of Public Health, Mullah Warman University, to invite me as a speaker in this international webinar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Rati, and now I'm talking about plant-based foods and mental health. In this presentation, I will first introduce you to the concept of polyphenols. What are polyphenols? Which health effect they have? And how to measure polyphenol intake. I will discuss also plant-based foods and mental health. So please, before I present my presentation, please answer my short survey. What did you eat this afternoon or for your lunch? Please join at slido.com with the code 981328. I'm waiting your answer.
Okay, please for the audience to be a participant of the slido.com from Dr. Rati, and please open your gadget and click slido.com, and don't forget to entering the number 981328.
Thank you, belly rice bowl. Wow. Chicken nugget, fried chicken. Let me have a look.
Okay, please participant, unmute.
What do you eat for your lunch? Rawon, banana. 15 participants. Let me have a look. Jengkol. Wow, so yummy. So variety, rica.
Real Indonesian.
Oh my God, a lot of. Wow, cool. Wow, teok beki. I only saw. Wow. This is Indonesian food, which are so delicious. Wow, ikan bakar, fried chicken. Wow, thank you guys. Oh, curry, mihun, nasi padang. Thank you so much. It's just a short survey that we can see most of them rice, not all, but most of them. Chicken, nasi kuning. Wow, thank you so much.
Yellow rice.
Yellow rice. Yeah. Wow. Gado. Wow. Okay, guys. How about this? Thank you. I will go to like this. How about this? Sorry, guys. Have you eaten fruit and vegetable today? Please answer the question. Yes, although yellow rice, but you still have. Well, let me have a look. Which one? No or yes? Have you eaten fruit and vegetable today? Wow, cool. Wow. Yes. Almost 60%. Almost 60% that participants are here eat fruit and vegetable. Wow, thank you so much that you have eaten fruit and vegetable today. Wow, thank you. Who is the winner? Yes or no? Still counting? Okay, thank you guys. It's enough. I think most of you choose yes. You have eaten fruit and vegetable today. Thank you. So it will be easy for me. Okay, so why am I asking fruit and vegetables? Because they have vitamins, minerals, and polyphenols. What are polyphenols? If you eat a watermelon, what is inside a watermelon? There are macro and micronutrients, namely carbohydrate, fat, protein, vitamins, and minerals. Besides nutrients, a watermelon also contains polyphenols such as anthocyanins, flavonols, and hydrobenzoic acid. Then maybe you will think, what is the difference between nutrients and polyphenols? Well, nutrients can be divided into macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients are digested and stored or used in the body. Micronutrients are needed in the smaller amounts and stored and temporarily retained in the body. They are essential for facilitating basic biochemical process. Polyphenols belong to bioactive compounds of phytochemicals. They are not stored in the body and do not contribute directly to the basic biochemical process, but help fine-tune the cell and protect against stress, helping to improve long-term health in many different ways. So, what are polyphenols? Polyphenols are bioactive compounds. Polyphenols represent a very diverse groups of compounds with over 500 different molecules identified in foods, which can be divided into 5 main classes according to their chemical structure: flavonoids, phenolic acid, stilbenes, lignans, and other polyphenols. Then still further division can be done in subclasses. As polyphenols are bioactive compounds, many health benefits from polyphenols have been mentioned. Apart from cancer, brain, skin, dental health on the left side, many effects on the right side might decrease our cardiovascular risk or the metabolic syndrome. This includes the prevention of obesity, high glucose levels like in diabetes, blood vessel problems like lipid deposition with arteriosclerosis and stiffenings of arteries, high blood pressure, and inflammation. So, where can you find polyphenols? Polyphenols are widely distributed in plant-based foods, such as vegetables, fruit, cocoa, tea, coffee, herbs, and spices. So, follow the advice of your mom to eat fruit and vegetable. Then, for research, we have to measure how much polyphenols have been consumed. There are two ways. The first is by matching data from dietary assessment, 24-hour recalls, food frequency questionnaire, or dietary records with polyphenol database. Dietary assessments include 24 recalls, food frequency questionnaires, or dietary records. Apart from self-developed database and the Eurofear data, two well-known polyphenol database are the Panel Explorer database and the American USDA, although the latter only has data on one polyphenol class, flavonoids. The second way is via laboratory measurements, thus measuring polyphenols in urine, plasma, or the metabolite produced by facial microbiota in your stool. Okay, polyphenols might have potential benefit for your health. Then maybe you will ask me how much polyphenols should be eaten. Until now, no recommended dietary intake exists. However, there are health claims of polyphenols. The European Food Safety Authority approved a health claim on olive oil polyphenols and on cocoa flavonols. At least 5 milligrams of hydroxytyrosol and its derivatives via 20 grams of daily olive oil intake should be consumed to protect the blood lipids from oxidative stress. At least 200 milligrams flavonols should be consumed daily to maintain normal blood flow. Then here the descriptive results for adolescents on the left and adults on the right. Here the study based on the Helena study from 8 cities in Europe. The total polyphenol was higher in adults than adolescents. The three major food contributors of polyphenols were also different. In adolescents, there were chocolate products, apple and pear, fruit and vegetable juice, while in young adults, it was coffee, tea, and cocoa and chocolate products. Adolescents with a higher polyphenol intake were more often girls, older, from non-Mediterranean countries, adolescents with underweight, in case of higher parental education. Those with low family affluence scale score or alcohol consumers. In young adults, participants from Ghent had the highest total polyphenol intake. And the result toward metabolic risk. For the Helena study, there was no significant association between polyphenol intake and metabolic syndrome risk in European adolescents. In the longitudinal study, until 10 years, our main hypothesis was confirmed only for lignan intake, a negative relation with metabolic syndrome risk over time. The next paper examined inflammation as an outcome. First, the main hypothesis on an overall inflammatory ratio. The higher of ratio, the more inflammation. That main hypothesis was confirmed, a negative relation between the pro-anti-inflammatory ratio and total polyphenols. This was also the case for 3 individual polyphenol types, but not for others. How about the association between polyphenols and total antioxidant capacity? No significant associations were found. Why? Perhaps due to low general polyphenol intake in these adolescents, low bioavailability of some polyphenols, individual response variation, and finally, the laboratory technique. Antioxidant capacity in our study, in the Helena study, was determined using prolog equivalent antioxidant capacity, which is rather a direct method to measure the antioxidant. So the conclusion on the health relation, metabolic syndrome, cross-sectionally only lower BMI, body mass index, longitudinally lower total metabolic syndrome for one class of polyphenols. And inflammation, yes, lower pro-anti-inflammatory ratio. Antioxidant capacity, no. The future studies should use longitudinal data and polyphenol biomarkers to determine health effects in more detail. So how about the mental health? There is evidence for the effect of some herbal supplements on physiological and cognitive function. Based on study, a systematic review, and a meta-analysis, vegetarian and vegan diets are increasing in popularity. Although they provide beneficial health effects, they may lead to nutritional deficiencies. Cognitive impairment and mental health disorder have a high economic burden. A meta-analysis was conducted to examine the relation between vegan or vegetarian diets and cognitive and mental health. And the results? Vegan or vegetarian diets were related to higher risk of depression and lower anxiety scores. No significant association was found between diet and continuous depression score, stress, well-being, or cognitive impairments. However, the heterogeneity was large and more studies with better quality are needed to make clear positive or negative association. Another study in 3,020 adults from Russia, 2,000 adults of the Germany population, and 3,028 adults from USA, and the longitudinal study in Germany and China found that vegetarianism diet is not associated with mental health in USA, Russia, and Germany, but it is associated with anxiety and depression in China. Future studies should examine the vegetarian in more detail and their links with mental health, including dietary composition and cultural beliefs and also economic circumstance. Future researchers in this area may also want to consider the effect of experimental manipulation of diet on mental health outcomes over time. And how about fruit and vegetable intake? Positive association between the consumption of fruit and vegetable with the mental health, including in adults, adolescents, and children. In adults, high total intake of fruits and vegetables and some of their specific subgroups, including berries, citrus, and green leafy vegetables, might promote higher level of optimistic and self-efficacy, as well as reduce the level of physiological distress, ambiguity, and cancer fatalism, and protect against depressive symptoms. And in adolescents, fruit and vegetable intake may have positive association with mental health, such as happiness, especially beneficial for general mental health in adolescents, where green vegetable, yellow vegetable, and fresh fruit. How about children? Positive influence. However, these studies were from observational studies, and it may be supposed that the association is not direct, but the dietary patterns influence body mass, and body mass influence mental health. The conclusion on mental health: inconsistent associations between plant-based foods and mental health. At the same time, in a number of studies, not only fruit and vegetables intake alone was stated to be beneficial, but rather a more general dietary patterns, including also some element of healthy diet and healthy lifestyle. So my recommendation is follow the guideline from your government. For example, in Indonesia, we have gizi seimbang. So it's very easy. Just follow this guideline. And another take-home message is, don't forget to consume at least 5 portions of fruits and vegetables a day. It might be beneficial also for mental health. And I will share my sound. Okay. Okay. Do I still have time, Bu Riza?
Okay, ma'am, still 5 minutes more, 5 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. Please answer this question. Guys, what will you eat for tonight or tomorrow? Sorry, typo here. Tomorrow. What will you eat for tonight or tomorrow? There are fruits and vegetables.
Okay, please for the audience.
Fruits, yay! Please go to slido.com. This is the last one. Let me have a look. This is the diversity of Indonesia and also another countries in the world. Wow, fried rice is the winner of tonight. Wow, great. Fried rice is the winner, I guess. Fruits and vegetables. The third is okay. Fried rice. That's a good idea, guys. And don't forget to eat fruits and vegetables. Fried rice. Still, fried rice is the number one. Vegetable soup. Vegetable soup. And then salad, vegetable roll, banana. I want dinner with my wife. Oh, so romantic. Fried rice is the winner of today. What will you eat for tonight or tomorrow? But another one is vegetable soup. Kebab. Wow. Coconut, tofu, vegetable, martabak. Coffee in the morning. Wow. Sate ayam. Wetges itu, what is wetges? Oseng tofu. Rendang. Yeah. Buriza, the winner is fried rice.
Okay, give applause for fried rice.
Thank you guys. Noodle, vegetable salad, vegetable soup. Still, fried rice is the winner. Don't forget to eat fruits and vegetables, guys. Thank you so much, guys, for the following in slido.com.
Okay, thanks for Dr. Rati.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, please give applause and give a reaction for Dr. Rati that have a great inspiration and ever share about the polyphenols. Okay, and ladies and gentlemen, in YouTube and the Zoom platform, now we will continue to the Q&A section. And I would like to invite, okay, there are more than 5 questions entered to the chat box. And I will invite for the first Dr. Blego. Dr. Blego is the one give the question. Thanks for Dr. Blego. Okay, Dr. Blego. Hello, doctor. Okay. Maybe while we waiting, I will let me read for the first question after this. Okay, hello. Okay, please. Okay, please ensure that your microphone is mute. Okay, Dr. Rati, there are. Hello, Dr. Blego.
Okay. Hello, Miss
Okay.
Riza. Yeah.
Okay, please, doctor.
I think only little question for Dr. Rati about he study several journal. I think several style life have contribute for health such as body mass index, like also exercise, sleep and others. How your strategy to improving health quality, especially in rural community, especially to increase the lifestyle for community, rural community. I mean, please maybe Miss Dr. Ratih to explain more about to improving style for community, rural community.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Blego, for the question. And please, Dr. Rati, how to improve the quality of life and how to improve the behavior of eating in the rural community, please.
Thank you, Dr. Blego and Bu Riza. Thank you so much. The strategy, is quite difficult as in the rural community, but we have Posyandu, for example, as the community woman empowerment in the rural and urban community. We can work together with them because the volunteers are the cadres in Posyandu. They are very high motivated and they're very high worker. They're hard worker also. So we can work together with them to promote healthy behaviors. Not only eating, but also the others like sanitation, like health access, how to can get more easy to the health puskesmas, what we call puskesmas, to the health centers.
Primary healthcare, yes, sir.
Primary healthcare.
Okay, so the way is a collaboration between academic side and the community of significant person in community. Thanks for Dr. Rati and thanks for Dr. Blego. Okay, I will go to the next question from Chitra. I think it's from student in public health. Okay, for Dr. Rati, vegetables and fruit are rich in polyphenol, but if a child doesn't like to eat fruit and vegetables and then replace them with supplement that contain vegetables positive aspect, can they also get benefit of polyphenols for their health? Thank you. That's the best question, I think.
Thank you, Chitra. Indeed, I guess it's Chitra. Chitra, like Natalie said before, that we never recommend supplements for healthy people, including children. So we always recommend for healthy eating behaviors. So eat fruits and vegetables is because they are so delicious and there are many colors that we can get from fruits and vegetables. How about supplement? Can we still get the polyphenols? The supplements are totally different with foods. For example, like I said, watermelon, there are so many biochemical compounds inside watermelon, and no human can replace this watermelon. So again, the conclusion is, please not recommend supplements for healthy people, but prepare but is better with the healthy eating behaviors. I hope it can be answered because supplements are quite different with foods that we have.
Okay, so the polyphenol is the best ever. Yes.
Foods.
Okay. Okay, I'll go to the next because still there are 5 minutes for Q&A question section from Dani Tarigan. Asked to Dr. Rati, in short, polyphenols are bioactive compounds. How important polyphenols needed by our body? What disease occur when we are consumed too much or too little polyphenols? So what the effect to our body if it is much or the little polyphenols we receive?
Don't worry, Tarigan. I guess that's Tarigan. I will have a look. Tarigan, is it? Yeah, Dani Tarigan. Don't worry, because polyphenols actually very small compound, not large compounds. So when you eat, for example, nasi goreng, because tonight most of our friends in this virtual will eat fried rice. There are some herbs and spices in that fried rice. So you will eat also polyphenols inside the fried rice. And you are asking again about Tarigan. How important polyphenols is very important because look like it look like when it's clothing in our city, so the polyphenols look like the ships. So we can still deliver foods to our friends, although we don't have car or motorcycle, because we can use boat in the blood, so we can still deliver the foods like that. So it's very important to maintain our body, for example, in the metabolic syndrome risk and also inflammation. What disease? No disease, as there are no recommended dietary intake of polyphenols. So just enjoy your foods and follow the guidelines from your government. In Indonesia, we have gizi seimbang. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you,
Maridan.
Dr. Lati, and hopefully it will satisfy your curiosity, Dr. Dani Tarigan. Okay, thank you. And I will give the last question from Reni Noviasti again, because of that's the same question, not this is the important question. Is still possible to receive polyphenols from processed food containing vegetables and fruit, like in a blender, or maybe some of heating when we cook it? Or has the polyphenol content changed as a result of the food processing? Thank you.
Sure, of course, you can still get polyphenols, Bu Reni. I will share you to show I will go here. I will share to you. Here, guys, if you are curious how much polyphenol intake, you can go to the Phenol Explorer database here, and then you can go to the foods. For example, you want to see tea or maybe juice. There are so many juice here. One do you like? You can choose. For example, apple. You can go to the polyphenol contents, and here are the results of the total polyphenols. So it's for danitarigan, it's very small, yeah. For example, in apple juice is only 3.25 milligram per 100 milliliters. So it's very small amount of polyphenols. So don't worry, you can enjoy your fruit, vegetable when you are so busy and you don't have time. Just make it in the blender or in the juicer. It's easy.
Okay, one more, Dr. Rati, because it's a question that represented many people from Siti Malika. Many people will go on diet by taking supplements containing vegetables and fruit. Are the supplements safe for the body?
I cannot answer is safe or not because everyone is different. So Rati, Riza, and for example, Siti Malika, we are different. Everyone has their own metabolism. So if you are healthy, you don't have any issue with anemia or you don't have any issue with zinc deficiency. So like I said before, Natalie said also, we will not recommend supplements. Just enjoy your foods because actually in Indonesia, you are so lucky here. Why? Because we have many fruits and vegetables along the year. The sun always in every year. Totally different in Europe, only 2 months of suns. So enjoy fruits and vegetables.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rati. I think that's all for the section in the second section, I think, because the time will kill of us because of it's still 1 to Maghrib in Samarinda. Okay, before we closing the section, there is a certificate as an appreciation, and hopefully Dr. Rati willing to accept it. And in this time, I will invite Dr. Irfansyah as the head of program study will give the certificate for Dr. Rati, and please the committee to help me to show the certificate. Okay. Hello, Dr. Irfansyah, are you still there? Okay, Dr. Irfan Syah.
Ya, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Oh my God, your virtual background make us hungry, sir. Okay, please, committee, help us to show the certificate before I close the section. Okay, please, Dr. Irfan Syah.
Ya, terima kasih Bu Rati atas kesempatannya. Mohon diterima sertifikatnya. Semoga kedepannya bisa membawa FKM lebih baik. Terima kasih.
Amin. Oke.
Amin. Terima kasih Pak Irfan atas sertifikatnya. Terima kasih panitia, Bu Riza.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the final of our section, and let me give some of conclusion of both of speaker presentation today. There are a connection between the holistic external and internal source to build our healthy body, mind, and soul. And don't forget, nutrition is the one factor what will support our body to control the risk factor of non-communicable disease and make more high quality of life. And polyphenol from a plant-based food will give our body antioxidant and have a correlation to diet and mental health or a positive association. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all for my show today because of time, and thanks for the committee who give me some opportunity to be a moderator, and I apologize if there are a mistaken while I guide the seminar. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Back to the MC.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mrs. Riza Hayati Ifrah. I'm sorry if there's any background noises here. I hope I'm still audible for all of you guys. Now, this session, we would like to give certificate to our honorable outstanding moderator at this webinar. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Riza Hayati Ifrah. We really do appreciate you being here, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Kalita and the committee. Thanks for the Dean and Vice the Dean.
Okay. Before okay, I think that's it for today. Thank you everyone for attending today's international webinar, Lifestyle and Mental Health. We truly appreciate you being here. We would like to acknowledge again the presence of our keynote speakers. We would also like to thank everyone who made this webinar series possible. If you have any other questions, please approach contact person number which provided in webinar's poster. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a digital certificate, and we would appreciate if you would provide your feedback to us. And to audiences, please fill the form provided in the chat box to claim your certificate. Make sure your identity is correct before submitting. Baik, bagi seluruh audiens, diperkenankan untuk mengisi form yang sudah disediakan di chat box Zoom agar dapat mengklaim sertifikat webinar hari ini. Terima kasih. On behalf of Faculty of Public Health, Mulauwarman University, and our presenters, thank you for joining us today. I am Talita.